2022 is turning out to be yet another very memorable year in the crypto market. After a booming 2021 where the market exploded almost 200%, leaving everything else in the dust, 2022, the bubble did burst and a 60% crash followed. Now, as this has already been one of the bigger crashes in crypto's history, it does open up some burning questions for investors. Is crypto still overvalued or massively undervalued right now? Has a bottom already been reached at a Bitcoin price of $17,000, or is a bigger crash still to come? And where will crypto prices be by the end of this year? And that is what we'll be looking at in this video. As always, if you do enjoy anything in the video, then drop a like. Always appreciated. Okay, first up, just because crypto has had a huge drop so far this year, it doesn't necessarily mean it's now cheap. And so, is crypto still overvalued, or is it now massively undervalued? And so jumping in to assess whether crypto's overvalued or undervalued brings us back to the 200-week moving average. And this seems to be a chart that just keeps popping up again and again. It's a chart I've referred to a few times over the last few weeks. And then recently I did a video on Michael Saylor, and he also referred to this chart. And also Cathie Wood and ARK Invest in their most recent report. Again, this chart keeps coming up, and 200 week is just short of 4 years. So it's kind of highlighting Bitcoin's and crypto's 4-year cycle. And this is the average in blue running here. This is Bitcoin's price here. And essentially what it says is that it's very rare that Bitcoin's price will come down and touch this 200-week moving average. And historically, when it does, would be an amazing time to buy. So it touched around here, 2015. Then 4-year cycle, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, the line was touched, marking the very bottom of the last crypto winter here. Now, for me, this one was a bit artificial, as I don't think this would have naturally touched the line, but this was the COVID crash. So obviously a global pandemic, there was a huge sell-off, so I think this one's a bit more artificial. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, here we are again, and it's broken around this line. So people may look at this different, but for me, this says that if history repeats, then this would be an amazing time to buy, meaning Bitcoin and crypto is oversold, and so would be massively undervalued. Now, one important point that we must cover is that even though it still could be undervalued, it doesn't mean that it can't drop further. And so the big question is, so let's now try to answer the question, has the bottom already been hit at a 17,000 Bitcoin price? Now, there's a camp of people like Raoul Pal, Michael Saylor, Sam Bankman-Fried, who all say the worst is now behind us and stating or indicating the bottom has already been hit. Then there's a camp of people like Michael Burry, Harry Dent, Jamie Dimon, who say we're in the middle of one of the biggest crashes in history and we're only about halfway done. Now, I personally like to follow the sage advice of Ray Dalio, who always asks himself, what if I am wrong? And also business mogul Richard Branson, who always asks himself, how do I protect the downside? And if you didn't know, Ray Dalio himself almost got completely wiped out by making the wrong call. And let us not forget the amazing Jack Bogle, founder of Vanguard, who also said, In 65 years, he's never met anybody who can predictably know where the market is going. And so you'll notice all the people who seem to know where the market is going, whether we've already hit the bottom or not, are all smaller investors by comparison, as all of the very best remain humble. And so the question is, what do we do? And so we just need a plan for both directions, and that is my official stance. Now, if I had to guess, and it would be a guess, I'd say we're probably going to see lower lows over the next 6 months. And this is just because of the global economy is in such a mess. However, always remember the big benefit, which is you get to build your stack when nobody wants crypto and prices are low. Okay, let's finish up with some price targets. And finally, finishing up with some price targets. And for this, we're going to use a logarithmic regression chart. And running through the center in this yellow color is the mean or average. And you can see it peaked out 2 standard deviations above. We've had this crash and it's come all the way down to this bottom level. So another indicator that historically crypto is undervalued. Now, if it stays in this band, let's just take a look at what it says for the end of the year. We'd be looking at a Bitcoin price of $25,000. Now, as mentioned, I do think that over the next 6 months, due to what's happening in the global economy, we could be getting another big crash. So as far as timing goes, would it crash first and then recover to this level? Will we get close to the end of the year before the final crash and then it recovers afterwards? Getting the exact timing is virtually impossible, but at least this gives us a rough benchmark. So I would say this is a reasonable worst case scenario. And then when it comes to best case scenario, a good case would be one above, which would be back above the 30,000 mark, and probably a reasonable best case scenario, and this would be back above the $40,000 level. And so for me, a realistic worst case scenario would be another fear panic sell-off, meaning Bitcoin comes down to around the $10,000 level, a 50% drop from here, and many more for the alts. And what a buy of the century this would be. I'll literally be betting the house on that trade. And based off a log regression chart, a reasonable best case scenario would be Bitcoin back above the $40,000 level. And that would be a doubling from here, meaning much bigger gains for the alts. So there you are, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Obviously, only you can do what's right for you. Everybody has a different risk tolerance and time frame, but that is how I see it. Hope you enjoyed, and just to say, if you did enjoy anything in the video, then drop a like, always appreciated, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.